What do ancient secrets predict about our future? That's what we'll explore tonight. Forgotten prophecies, cosmic cycles, and sacred texts that might be describing, with surprising clarity, the times we're living through, and the ones to come. From the Yugas of India, which speak of rises and falls in human consciousness, to astronomical signs that mark the end of one era and the beginning of another. This is a journey through the deepest and most timeless wisdom of the ancient world. We'll explore how Vedic sages understood time, not as something that moves in a straight line, but as a sacred cycle that pulses, collapses, and is reborn. And we'll do it slowly, meditatively, like an inner journey, because sometimes the most important knowledge doesn't come from discovering, but from remembering. Get ready to open your mind, because the past is speaking again. There was a time when the world seemed to move without pause, faster, more disconnected, more uncertain. But while many saw chaos, there were peoples who recognized it as part of a cycle. They didn't see it as a surprise, but as fulfillment. Among them were the Hopi, a native people from the American Southwest. Their ancestral wisdom spoke of this moment, and they left it written, carved, and remembered in what we now know as the Hopi Prophecies. This is their story. What if everything we're living through today had already been seen by ancient eyes centuries ago? Fires in the sky, sudden floods, collapsing systems, a global unease that's hard to name. For many, it feels like crisis. For the Hopi, it is fulfillment. In the arid heart of the American Southwest, across redstone and ancient winds, an ancestral voice whispers, "We knew this would come." The Hopi prophecy never spoke of the end of the world, but of its transformation, and that time has begun. The Hopi, the people of peace, carried a wisdom that defied time through rituals, farming, ceremonies, and prophecy. One of the most powerful is the prophecy of the 7 generations, a vision of rupture, forgetting, and return. According to this teaching, after an age of imbalance, 7 generations would rise. Each would carry a lost thread of truth, and when the 7th awakened, the world would enter the time of purification, a moment of chaos, but also of possibility. That purification would not be punishment, but realignment, the collapse of what no longer serves, the crumbling of structures, ideas, and habits that distanced us from earth and from spirit. Sound familiar? Droughts, wildfires, mass migrations, technology evolving faster than our capacity to process it. An anxiety that's felt but not easily explained. To the Hopi, these are not signs of the end. They are signs of awakening, and we might be that 7th generation, the one born into disconnection and called to remember. The ancients didn't speak in dates, they spoke in signs, and those signs are everywhere. In cities flaring and fading in flames, in oceans spilling beyond their borders, in algorithms making choices we no longer understand. Everything seems to be moving toward a breaking point or a revelation. Hopi petroglyphs show open spirals, pathways that split, one toward destruction, the other toward life. Each spiral is a cycle, and each cycle a choice. Are we on the edge of repeating or remembering? Other cultures on other continents carved the same symbols. Coincidence or a shared echo, a warning launched from the past, aimed directly at this moment? The prophecy does not demand fear, it demands awareness. It says this is not a time to wait for miracles, but to become them. The seventh generation will not descend from the sky. It will not be announced by thunder. It will be us when we choose to awaken, to reconnect, to remember who we were before we forgot. Chaos is not the end. It is the soil being broken before the seed is planted. And maybe, just maybe, this storm is the final whisper from the past, saying, choose. Now, because the world does not need witnesses to the end, it needs architects of what comes next. In times when chaos feels like the norm and the noise of the world never stops, some have begun to sense a different frequency, softer, deeper, older. It's not a headline, it's not a trend, it's a vibration, a silent call that doesn't come from the future, but from the past. A past that was never left behind, but instead repeats itself in spirals. Today, we step into one of the most profound and complex visions of time ever conceived, the Yugas, the eternal cycles described by the sages of ancient India. Because according to them, what we are living now was already foreseen millennia. They say some changes don't begin with noise, but with a whisper, a faint sensation, almost imperceptible, that moves through the body like an ancient current. It doesn't come from outside, but from a deeper place, an echo in the soul, as if something were awakening and could no longer be held back. That something is not new. It is not modern. It is not technological. It is ancestral knowledge that has waited for centuries to manifest again. In the oldest scriptures of India, the Vedas, this is described clearly, not in terms of years or even decades, but in entire eras. Great cycles of time that define not only what happens around us, but what unfolds within human consciousness. These cycles are called Yugas, and according to the sages, one of them is now coming to an end. There are 4 Yugas, 4 stages that repeat like the seasons, but on a cosmic scale. Satya Yuga, the age of truth, when humanity vibrates in harmony with the universe. Treta Yuga, a time of balance, though already showing signs of imbalance. Dvapara Yuga, when conflict begins and knowledge becomes fragmented. And finally, Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, of separation, of lost meaning. According to many Vedic scholars, we were born and are living in Kali Yuga, an era where everything seems to speed up and fall apart at once, but also an era that, according to ancient calculations and astronomical signs, is now drawing to a close, and with its end comes a rebirth. Not abrupt or miraculous, but quiet and deep. One that is already being felt in questions, in personal awakenings, in the growing feeling that the world as we knew it is fading away. We are living through collapse. Systems are trembling, institutions lose their legitimacy, ecological, technological, and mental crises spread. Humanity seems to have reached a point where material progress no longer fills the inner void. But according to Vedic teachings, these are not signs of the end, but signs of transition. From this ancient perspective, we are crossing a threshold between 2 yugas, an in-between space where the collective soul begins to remember what it has forgotten over centuries. And that remembering manifests in small actions, people turning away from noise in search of silence. Young people realizing the promises they were given no longer satisfy. Voices rising around the world asking, "Is this all there is?" The sages foresaw this. They said that before a new cycle begins, there would be a period of confusion, of contradictions, where the old would no longer work, but the new would not yet be visible. A dawn that does not yet shine, but has already begun to color the sky. Some Vedic astrologers have marked a crucial window between the years 2025 and 2032, a stretch of time when planetary alignments, vibrational shifts, and human evolution may form a kind of bridge, a bridge between Kali Yuga and the next awakening. In that stage, humanity will face a choice: to remain trapped in a fragmented mind ruled by fear and competition, or to raise its consciousness toward unity, toward a way of life more aligned with its essence. It's not about religion or dogma. It's about vibration, about frequency, about the energy from which we act, think, and feel. And that energy, the ancients say, is rising. In the Vedas, this moment is known as Satya Anveshana, the search for truth, an inevitable phase where falsehood begins to collapse under its own weight, where the superficial no longer satisfies, where, almost without realizing it, thousands of souls begin to turn toward what is real. But as with any deep transition, it doesn't come without resistance. There will be chaos. There will be fear. There will be a sense of loss. But we are not losing the world. We are losing the masks. And beneath those masks lies what is essential, eternal, the spark that, according to the Vedas, can never be destroyed. It can only sleep until something like now calls it to awaken. So, what do the Vedic cycles predict for the near future? They don't speak of wars or catastrophes. They speak of consciousness, of a quiet expansion that won't be confined to temples or ashrams. It will emerge in cities, in laboratories, in everyday conversations, in art, in science, in technology. A new era doesn't begin with earthquakes. It begins with souls remembering their truth, and when enough remember, the cycle will turn. Not because a scripture says so, but because something deep within us has already decided. There was a moment when the world held its breath. It was December 2012, and millions of people across every continent turned their eyes to one of the most enigmatic calendars in the ancient world, the Mayan calendar. Some expected an apocalypse, others a great awakening. But when the day arrived and nothing seemed to happen, humanity simply moved on. What we didn't realize was that the silence didn't mark an end, but the beginning of something much deeper. Today, we return to that ancient system of time, not as a curiosity of the past, but as a coded message for our present. This is the story of the calendar that didn't stop. It was simply waiting. What if 2012 wasn't the end, but a door we've only just begun to cross? For years, the world awaited December 21st, 2012, as if it were the climax of an ancient prophecy. Some believed the apocalypse would arrive, others expected mass enlightenment. But in the end, nothing happened. Or so we thought. What few understood was that the Maya never predicted a single dramatic event, but a reset. A new cycle began. That day, silent, invisible, but powerful. And now, more than a decade later, that countdown is reaching a crucial moment. According to new interpretations of the long count calendar, 2012 didn't mark a conclusion, but the start of a transitional period. a 13-year resonance window, as some scholars call it, where the change would be internal, subtle, until it could no longer be ignored. That period ends in 2025, and as we approach that point, everything seems to stir. Climate crises, social upheavals, unexpected scientific breakthroughs, and a growing sense that something deeper, something ancient, is moving once again. We're living in a world in transformation. Systems once thought permanent are cracking. Technology is advancing faster than our ethics. Old certainties are dissolving. But what if this isn't collapse, but evolution? The Mayan worldview never saw time as a straight line. To them, it was a living spiral, a mirror of the collective soul. Each cycle brought specific challenges, spiritual trials, ethical dilemmas, forks in the path of destiny. The last cycle spoke of separation, of ego, of duality. This new one speaks of integration, of becoming part of something greater, of remembering what we've forgotten. The ancient texts don't predict doom. They speak of decision points, critical moments where humanity must choose to evolve or repeat, and that moment is now. 2025 is more than a number. It aligns with multiple convergences, astronomical, technological, spiritual. Some see it as a definitive threshold, others as a final test. But all seem to agree, the calendar is alive, and it's vibrating within us. Transformation won't arrive with fireworks. It will come with awareness, with small daily awakenings, with choices made from connection, not from fear. Maybe the question was never what will happen. Maybe the real question is, what are we becoming? Because if time is a mirror, then this moment, chaotic, uncertain, intense, might be reflecting something deeper, an opportunity to reconnect with the sacred, with community, with the earth, and with ourselves. The Mayan calendar didn't end. It's awakening, and it's doing so through you. Sometimes the most unsettling thing isn't what we know, but what we sense. For centuries, the Great Pyramid has stood as an open enigma, majestic, motionless, seemingly understood. And yet, the ancients always hinted that its greatest secrets weren't visible but buried, sealed, waiting. Today, thanks to modern science, a new door, invisible and silent, has begun to open. And with it returns a question that has never quite left us. What if the most important part has yet to be revealed? This is the story of a hidden chamber that could change everything. What if one of humanity's greatest secrets was about to be revealed? For more than 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has defied not only time, but human understanding. It's the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing. And yet, we don't truly know how it was built, or with certainty why. But what we do know is that the Great Pyramid hasn't spoken its final word. In 2017, something happened that completely shifted what we thought we knew. Using modern technologies, mammography, thermal scanning, and particle detection, a team of scientists discovered something unexpected, a massive hidden void inside the pyramid, a space at least 30 meters long, completely sealed, inaccessible, and until then, unknown to the modern world. The news spread quickly. Some called it the secret chamber, others simply the void. But behind the technical mystery lies a deeper question. What's in there? To this day, no one has entered it. There are no tunnels that lead to the space. No ancient records or inscriptions mention it. Only an invisible presence, buried within. the ancient stone, and that's where the theories begin to ignite. Some conservative Egyptologists suggest it may be a structural void, an unused chamber meant only to redistribute weight, but others aren't so sure. Why such a large cavity, positioned precisely above the Grand Gallery? Why no mention, not even symbolically, in the hieroglyphic texts? Some believe the chamber could contain ancient knowledge, documents, artifacts, or even a form of lost wisdom, a kind of time capsule left by the builders, not as a tribute to the past, but as a message for the future. And that future could be now. According to the latest reports, scientists are preparing for a new attempt, a physical exploration, likely using a microdrone or robotic probes. The first direct look inside could happen within a few years, maybe even before 2026. What if what we find doesn't just reshape our understanding of ancient Egypt, but of ourselves? Theories are multiplying, from advanced astronomical and geometric knowledge that could rewrite history, to potential links with even older, possibly vanished civilizations that left clues carved in stone. Some even connect this hidden chamber to ancient prophecies, suggesting that major archaeological revelations would emerge in this century, accompanying a global shift in human consciousness. The pyramid, some say, wasn't just a tomb, not even just a temple. It was a clock, an astronomical, energetic and symbolic marker, and this chamber might be its final chime. Imagine that inside lies an artifact, a text or a structure that doesn't match any technology we know, something that forces us to rethink everything we believe about our origins. What if this isn't just about the past? What if it's about something that was waiting for this moment, this point in human history, to be found? As the world faces transformations, climate, technological, spiritual, ancient structures seem to stir, as if stone monuments, silent for millennia, were beginning to speak again, not with words, but with revelations. And perhaps among those revelations, this hidden chamber could be one of the most important of our time. Because if there's one thing we know about history, it's that it's never complete. There's always one more line, one unread symbol, one locked door, waiting for the right key. And maybe that key isn't a modern tool. Maybe it's our willingness to listen to the past, without judgment, to look beyond books, beyond academia, beyond logic, and accept that at some point the ancients knew something we've forgotten. The secret chamber inside the Great Pyramid might be empty. It might be just a void, or it might contain the greatest question we've never dared to ask. And within that question, perhaps lies an answer we never expected to find. For now, the pyramid remains silent, immense, unchanging, but now we all know. Something inside it waits, and the only thing left to do is open it. There are places on Earth that seem built to guard a secret. Not just any secret, but one that transcends generations, empires, and centuries of human history. In the heart of China, beneath a hill covered in trees, rests a mystery that has never been touched, the tomb of the first emperor. It is not just a sealed chamber. It is a promise suspended in time. A message carved in stone, waiting for the exact moment to awaken. And perhaps that moment is closer than we think. They say some secrets don't stay hidden forever. They simply wait for the right moment to come to light. And perhaps one of the greatest secrets in human history still lies down there, sealed, intact, sleeping beneath the earth. In the heart of China, beneath an ordinary-looking hill, stands one of the most enigmatic structures ever built, the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first unifier of China, the same man who ordered the construction of the Great Wall, and whose power still seems to vibrate more than 2,000 years after his death. Many have heard of the famous Terracotta Army, thousands of clay soldiers lined up as if waiting for a command to march. But few know that those warriors are only the prelude. The truly monumental and still unexplored lies just beyond. The Emperor's main burial chamber, a sealed vault, an artificial hill, an underground complex that, according to ancient chronicles, contains rivers of mercury, ceilings painted like the night sky, and traps designed to stop any intruder. And to this day, no one has entered. Why? A mix of reasons: technical risk, archaeological protection, fear of damaging what lies inside, but also a certain silent reverence, as if opening that tomb meant something more than just a scientific act. And yet, something is changing. Recent years, new non-invasive technologies like ground-penetrating radar, magnetic sensors, and hyperspectral scanners have begun to reveal hidden structures, chambers, corridors, zones of anomalous activity. What was once only legend is now appearing as data, and many believe we are getting closer to the opening of the central chamber. What will we find there? Some archaeologists believe we might uncover treasures, texts, or artifacts of immense historical value, but others go further. There are theories suggesting that Qin Shi Huang, obsessed with immortality, may have left behind forbidden knowledge. Technological advances, ancient codes, star maps, even artifacts that defy the known timeline. And here is where history begins to touch mystery. According to the ancient historian Sima Qian, the tomb was designed to replicate the entire universe. The ceiling of the chamber would be a starry sky. The floor, rivers of mercury representing the seas, all created so the emperor could rule eternally from the afterlife. And today, more than 2,000 years later, that space remains untouched, silent, sealed, but not forgotten. In fact, recent measurements have detected extremely high levels of mercury in the soil beneath the hill. Levels that make no sense unless what was written thousands of years ago is actually true. What if this tomb is not just a mausoleum? What if it is a capsule of power, an energy node, a message built to outlast time? Some believe that within the tomb may lie keys, not just to understanding the past, but to unlocking the future of humanity. Because in many ancient cultures, death wasn't an end, it was a passage, a portal, and Qin Shi Huang, in his pursuit of immortality, may not have been trying to live forever, but to return when the world was ready. With new technologies accelerating the process and international interest growing, many believe the tomb could be explored in the coming years. Some even point to 2025 as a key moment, a year when breakthroughs in China, Egypt, Turkey, and the Americas could converge simultaneously. Coincidence or synchronicity? Either way, the tomb of the first emperor still waits, and the most unsettling part is that it was built to last. Every brick, every trap, every symbol seems to whisper, "Not yet." But that moment is coming, and when it arrives, humanity won't just be opening a tomb, it will be opening a door that's been closed for over 20 centuries, a door to the past that may forever reshape our vision of the future. Until then, beneath the hill, the emperor waits, and his empire of silence remains on guard. In a world where technology moves faster than our understanding, and where the new seems to erase the old each day, there are places that force us to look back. Not out of nostalgia, but as a key. Places that challenge our timelines, our assumptions, and our very idea of progress. Today, we journey to one of those places, a hill in Anatolia that hides not just ancient stone, but a memory we may still not know how to read. This is the story of Göbekli Tepe, and of a cycle that may be coming full circle. Right now, more than 11,000 years ago, in the hills of southern Turkey, a group of humans did something that history still can't fully explain. They built a megalithic complex with astronomical alignments, abstract symbols, and a level of precision that didn't match their era, long before writing, long before cities, long before what we call civilization. That place is now known as Göbekli Tepe, and according to many archaeologists, it changed everything we thought we knew about our origins. But some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe was not just a temple. It was a machine of memory, a knowledge center built to survive a cataclysm. A capsule in stone, designed not for its own time, but for ours. The structures are aligned with key constellations, especially Cygnus, the celestial cross, and many of its stones appear to mark not only the sun's path, but larger cyclical events, climate collapses, magnetic reversals, civilizational resets. The nearest one, an astronomical threshold that begins to close in 2025. According to recent studies, several alignments at Göbekli Tepe seem to trace a precessional cycle, a return that takes over 11,000 years, which once again intersects with our era. Right now, not as a warning, but as a signal of activation, a moment when forgotten knowledge begins to resonate again, not in the stones, but in us. Because the true legacy of Göbekli Tepe may not be in its carvings, but in what it reawakens. Many of the symbols engraved there, the serpent, the bird, the crescent, appear in cultures across the world, as if they spoke a shared ancient language. Some scholars now wonder, what if Göbekli Tepe was never meant to be just remembered, but reactivated, not physically, but symbolically, energetically, like a signal encoded in stone, waiting for a moment in the distant future when human consciousness would rise enough to decode its meaning. A moment perhaps like now, when so many feel pulled toward something ancient, something beyond language, or science, a longing not for new information, but for ancient coherence. The builders of Göbekli Tepe left no texts, no names, no clear instructions, only geometry, only symbols, only orientation to the stars, to the solstices, to the turning of great cycles. It's as if they trusted that someday another generation would feel the resonance, that we would sense the patterns returning, not just in the sky, but in the instability of our world, in the questions we're finally brave enough to ask. So, 2025 might not be an end, nor a dramatic event. It might be a mirror, the return point of a great cycle in which humanity, if ready, can remember why it forgot, and begin again. Not from zero, but from a higher state of consciousness. Göbekli Tepe was intentionally buried by its own builders, as if they knew the time wasn't right, as if it had all been made to be found right now. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the ancient cycles of time. If these stories resonated with you, let us know in the comments. What do you feel about the shift that seems to be unfolding around the world? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep exploring the secrets of the past that are awakening in the present. Until next time.